We're talking to Jim Ashby from the Sheppey Fire Station. We're talking all about Bonfire Night and some of the useful safety tips relating to Bonfire Night. Jim, I know you wanted to cover bonfires now.
Yeah, bonfires. If you're having a bonfire, whether it's to get rid of garden waste or part of a celebration like Guy Fawkes that's upon us now, then taking care is most important. And a few simple tips I've got to make sure that yourself and others are kept safe if you're going to have a bonfire. Building the bonfire itself, well, fire can spread easily, and so a few tips on how to maintain a safe bonfire within your private area. How you build your bonfire is important. Building a bonfire away from sheds, fences and trees. Make sure you've got a good distance between any surrounding areas that may catch light if the wind's in the wrong direction, such as your sheds, fences or any other part of your house. Check there are no cables like telephone wires above the bonfire. These can quite readily melt away and cause more aggravation than you would want, so just check overhead as well. And don't build your bonfire too big, and make sure that the stack is stable and won't collapse outwards or to one side once the fire gets going. So once the fire gets going, it starts to lose its structural stability. Just make sure that you've packed it well together in an upright manner before you set light to it. But what you're going to burn, well, only use dry material. Damp material can cause more smoke, which could annoy your neighbours and be more harmful to people with breathing difficulties. So only dry material, dry wood is suitable to burn within the confines of your garden. And don't burn aerosols, tyres, canisters or anything containing foam or paints. Many of these will produce toxic fumes, and some containers may explode, causing injury, which is obviously what we're trying to avoid. And it is actually illegal to burn any material during any time of the year that produces black smoke. So it's only garden waste that you're allowed to burn within the confines of your garden and in public areas. Remove any rubbish from the area around the bonfire, maybe, so no one is tempted to throw something onto the fire, and rubbish, items in the garden that people think, well, we don't want that anymore, so we'll just put it onto the fire. Can cause problems, and again, it's probably going to produce black smoke that we're trying to avoid. What else? Well, maybe check the bonfire before lighting it. Piles of garden waste are sometimes used as a refuge for hibernating wildlife, hedgehogs, things like that. So just have a wander around, give the bonfire a little kick and have a little rummage around just to make sure you haven't got anything hiding away in there. There has been stories over the years of children using bonfires as camps, making small camps, and I know several stories of children getting hurt amongst bonfires because of this. So just before you light it, have a wander around and make sure everything's safe. And of course, don't use petrol or paraffin to get the fire going. Very tempting to use a small can of petrol to get the fire going, but again, the consequences can be dangerous, and before you know it, you've got quite a problem on your hand. And of course, the bonfire's then out of control. And something just to avoid, a definite no. Don't use your petrol or paraffins that you've got lying around in the garage. A few little safety tips: keep a bucket of water or a garden hose nearby, just in case of emergencies. If you are having a bonfire, then I would only suggest that you do if you've got a garden hose nearby. Throughout the year, when people have bonfires, they tend to leave their bonfires unattended, and they don't have a garden hose nearby, and we'll actually put that fire out. If it's not attended, or there's no means of the fire to be kept safe with a garden hose, then you shouldn't be burning anything in your garden at all, because you haven't got that bonfire under control. So you must have at least a bucket of water or your domestic garden hose standing by. Again, keep children and pets away from the bonfire. Really inviting, and children love the fascination of fire. And again, as I mentioned earlier, it's good to introduce children to fire and fire safety. So keep them at a distance. Don't be putting the children off with fireworks night and overloading them with health and safety, but just make them aware of the dangers of fire when you're having your fireworks and your bonfire. So, like I say, it's a good way to introduce children to fire safety within the domestic domain. And again, as mentioned, the big one is don't throw fireworks onto the fire. Big problems, fireworks going off in all directions, they're not under control. So something to think about. Never throw fireworks onto a fire. They're going to cause all kinds of injuries and even damage to property as well. Once the bonfire's died down, spray the embers with water to stop it reigniting with the garden hose that you should have standing by. So once the bonfire's died right down, and before you leave it for the evening, make sure it's completely extinguished. You're not going to have any flying embers, again annoying the neighbours or your own property. So at the end of the night, make sure the bonfire's completely out with your garden hose. You're then safe in your own minds that you can leave it. It's done its thing. Everybody's had a good night, and just ensure that the bonfire is completely extinguished before you leave it for the night.
Join with Jim Ashby from the Sheppey Fire Station here at the Monday Night Community Show this evening.